What's up, family? It's your boy, Dean from Kenya. Shalom, brothers and sisters. I hope you well wherever you are today. So, it's another fine day that God has granted unto us, and I feel like it's important for us to address important issues regarding our brothers and sisters who are settling or resettling in Africa. Yes, coming to Africa has always been the dream of a number of African Americans or Black Americans who want to reconnect with their roots. And we, as Africans, we are mandated, or our objective is to make the transition easier for you. And that entails the mistakes that you make. And it is also our role as people stand before you to tell you the right things to do and the wrong things that sometimes you fall short of. But salute to everyone who has made it to the motherland. So today's video is about two African Americans who faces some problems while in Tanzania, and there are a couple of small mistakes that they make that might make them land in big problems. They are small mistakes, but they can make them land in big problems. I want you to watch this video, and then I'll tell you the mistakes that they make that might make them land in big problems while in any other African country apart from Tanzania.
I'll be speaking on a very serious topic today.
Yeah, the reason why we left Tanzania.
Yes, the reason why we left Tanzania. People are always asking us, why did you come to Kenya from Tanzania? So we will explain why.
Yeah, and so guys, as you know, we had chosen Tanzania to be like our home. That's where we wanted to live, have our kids, raise our family. We had even rented like a whole 5-bedroom mansion. And at that time, I think we had still not had the baby. We were still pregnant. We had applied for the baby's US passport. And they told us it will be out like within 3 to 4 weeks. And you find that our visa for Tanzania ended before the baby's passport was out. And then we tried applying for an extension to wait for the baby's passport so we can travel with her out of the country, because the baby can't travel without a passport. So we go to the immigration for Tanzania to request for them to extend us at least a month or two while we wait for the baby's passport. And then they only gave us an extra 3 weeks.
It's a difficult thing in Tanzania to get extra time. You'd have a really good reason.
Even if you have a good reason.
Even if you do have a really good reason, they're not going to give you so much extra time.
Yeah, to wait and finish all the documents. So we were like, how are we going to get our baby's passport in this short time? And we told them we need like a month or 2 months to get the baby's passport for traveling. Well, they just gave us 3 weeks. And in those 3 weeks, the passport was not yet out and our visa was up. We had to travel out of the country. And then the baby had a Tanzanian birth certificate. So we thought the Tanzanian birth certificate should be good enough for her to travel around East Africa, because we just said, let's go to Uganda and we'll wait for the baby's passport to be out and then come back and see where we want. We had booked a round trip, guys. The round trip was $700, right?
I don't really remember.
I remember. We booked a round trip to Kampala, back to Tanzania. So at the airport, we get there, and then at first, you know how Tanzanians are very conservative. The lady's telling me, you should not be dressing like this if you're a mom. Then I said, fine.
What were you wearing? Do you remember what you were wearing?
I was wearing a dress. And then they start telling us, where's your baby's passport? She can't travel outside without a passport. And then we told her, we tried applying for an extension, but they didn't give us enough time. The baby's passport is not out, but we're just going to Kampala. Since she has a Tanzania birth certificate, it should be enough for her to travel around East Africa. Because if you're an East Africa citizen, you don't need a passport to travel around or a visa. And then instead of the lady to be nice, she starts shouting at us and saying, your child has no rights in Tanzania. She's not a citizen. So you have to give us some money before we stamp your passports for you all to go.
So guys, we didn't know that after you need to stamp the certificate. She needed a stamp. Even though she was born in Tanzania, she still needed a stamp, an entry stamp. So she didn't have an entry stamp, which is what the issue was when we were taking off at the airport. So they wanted her to have an entry stamp before they gave her an exit stamp, basically. But she was born. We didn't know that was a rule, and I don't think anybody does. So that was the issue there.
Because if you're born like maybe in the US, you get citizenship. In Kenya, you get citizenship. We didn't know that about Tanzania. So they start telling us our child has no right or anything.
Which she doesn't, but maybe they were just a little bit more aggressive about
Yeah,
it.
they
They
should
weren't
have been
so
nice
kind
about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start telling us you're gonna have to pay us some money
Yeah,
before we can let you out of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And then so we usually have, in East Africa you can just pay with M-Pesa. So us, we usually don't carry cash. We usually using M-Pesa most of the time. And then she said we can't pay her with the M-Pesa because you can track it or you can sue someone. They said they wanted cash money, whereby after you give someone the cash, there's no evidence for you even to say I paid them
Mm-hmm.
or anything, right? So Keith had to go to the ATM to try and take out cash. So the ATMs were not working at the airport, of which it took us almost 1 hour. The ATM is not working, and she has refused to let us go into the flight.
So they're gonna ask for a bribe, if you want to do those things, but those are illegal, guys. So you need to be careful when you're doing those things, or if you're trying to do those things, you want to try not to do them. I say recommend you not to do that, and to try to stay
Yeah,
clean when you're traveling. So I think those are the big issues. All of those. So the
yeah, and then
housing problems, right? Oh, there's something else you want to add to
and
it?
then while we were trying to use the ATM, the flight
Mm-hmm.
left us. All thanks to them keeping us there. We were requesting, can we just pay the phone? They refused. And then the flight left us like that. So it was so
Mm-hmm.
frustrating, depressing. And when a flight leaves you, you have to pay more money for you to reschedule the flight. So we lost $700 like
We
that.
wanted to go there and maybe have that be the place. We went there to visit just to see what it was like at first, and we liked it. So then we came back again. So maybe if we add up the times, maybe it could lead up to a year. And then we went back again, and when we went back again, it was the second time is when we decided, okay, we're gonna move here. We found a place, we found a home, it was really nice. The environment was quiet. There's a lot of nature. It's pretty clean there. The people were calm, peaceful. So we were like, wow, this is a good place. So we decided to go to Tanzania and stay there. But again, we didn't look at all of the rules and regulations as well as we did in Kenya, unfortunately.
Yeah, we did not do enough research about Tanzania.
Mm-hmm.
So when we were there, we rented our house, and then we bought furniture. You know how it was expensive to buy curtains for a 5-bedroom mansion?
Mm-hmm.
Like we spent a lot of money on curtains, almost $1,000 on curtains. The couches were like, I guess also $1,000. We bought a lot of things. We invested a lot of money. When we totaled it up, it was
Well, we spent a lot. It don't
we
matter.
spent a lot
It was
of
a lot of,
money.
not a whole lot of money, but it was enough.
Yeah.
And but you can get a lot of that stuff cheap. I think we got a lot of the stuff way off price.
Yeah, we wanted a house to look nice because we were like, we're gonna settle here. And then the hospital was nice, so we had the baby. It was very, very nice. The nurses were friendly. We liked it. We were like, this is the place. Finally, we have found it. So we wanted our child to get Tanzanian citizenship. We thought when you have a child in Tanzania, they get citizenship the same way America does it.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened, they don't do that. So when we were at the hospital, we went with Keith because we don't have family in Tanzania, but my mom later came to help us. So we were paying our rent, it was 900,000 Tanzania shillings. I don't know into cash how much that is. We're paying 900,000. And then Keith, remember the beginning of the lease agreement, we agreed with the landlord she can't increase rent. You remember? She told us she will not increase rent when we rented the house.
Yeah. So before we get there, you know, for the place in Tanzania, we really liked this place, and we wanted to come and stay in this place, but we ran into some issues with the rent is number one, right? So, right, she was increasing the rent money, and we didn't expect that. Other things too, we
Yeah.
the house wasn't put together as we wanted it to be, because we had paid for it to be put together a certain way beforehand, but it wasn't.
So when we rented the house, she said she's gonna do renovations, like fix the bathtub. So the bathtub also had an issue. She never fixed it. The toilets, she refused to fix it. We had to use our own money to fix it. So we did a lot of renovations in the house, like fixing the toilets. We bought curtain rods, curtain rails. We had like really, really done a lot of renovations in the house. And then when the 6 months end, you have
Hmm.
to renew your lease with the landlord. So I'm at the hospital having the baby, and like I had high blood pressure. It's called preeclampsia. So at 35 weeks, we had to schedule like an emergency C-section, of which the hospital handled it very, very well. They delivered the baby nicely via C-section. And then I'm at the hospital, and the guy next door to our house called us and said, "Hello, there's people in your house checking the house around." And then I'm like, "What's happening?" So we called the landlord, and she's saying, and it was like a week before we renew our lease agreement, so that we have to pay another rent for 6 months to renew the house, because in Tanzania you do per 6 months. And then when we call the landlord, she says, I'm increasing my rent to 1.2 million. If you can't pay it, you just have to get out of my house. I'm giving you 2 days after you come back from the hospital. You have to leave my house. And increasing from 900,000 to 1.2 million, that's like 300,000 Tanzanian shillings. That's an extra $150 she's adding. So when you do 150 multiplied by 6 months, how much is that?
I don't do math, but it was extra money that we didn't really
Yeah, it
want
was
to
not on
pay.
our budget. So when you do 150 multiplied by 6, that's almost $800 extra, and it's not part of our bill. And also, me having the baby via emergency section was not part of our bill. Like, it was a lot of money. So we told her, why didn't you tell us you're going to increase rent maybe like a month before or 2 months before? Like, you should have given us a heads up. Then we would have known if you want to move out or if you want to calculate our budget and add it to our budget. And then she's like, I need money for my kid to go to school, so I don't want to listen. If you can't pay 1.2 million a month, you have to get out of my house. So, and then she was so rude. She's like, within 2 days, you should leave my house. And then, so me and Keith, it was even stressing us. Keith wanted to pay the extra money, but well, I told him if she had approached us nicely, maybe we would have paid the money. Or if she told us like 2 months earlier before renewing the agreement, maybe we would have paid the money. But I told him I'd rather look for a new house. So when we, when we
So we
get
eventually agreed to find another house instead. And luckily for us, we did actually find something that was nicer. That was
in 2 days, crazy.
2 days. It's not so difficult to find homes. I
In
think in Kenya
Tanzania,
and Tanzania, so we did find a really like a. I think
it
it
was
was more modern.
nicer.
It was. I think it was a little bit smaller, but it was nicer though. It looked more modern. It had a
Yeah.
pool attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
For 1 million a
hmm
month. So when you
hmm
got out of the hospital, like I have a C-section wound, and kid does not know Swahili. So I was the one to go do house hunting myself. With our baby, she was premature. We had her
I
35
was there.
weeks.
Yeah, we were there. We were both
Yeah.
doing it.
So we both had to go look for a
But
house.
she had to speak Swahili to
Yeah, I
them.
had to do it.
Hmm
Kid cannot do it by himself. And my mom was in Tanzania. She doesn't know anywhere. So we had to be out with a premature baby. With my C-section wound, I've not even healed. Just after getting discharged, we went to look for a house. And then we even told the landlord, can you give us a week at least? I heal and look for her. She said, no, you have to leave my house.
hmm
So we
She
left.
said she needed some extra money for her kids' college, so that's why
Yeah.
she raised the rent. But I feel like you
I
gotta give
feel
a
like,
warning beforehand before you
no,
do something
I
like
feel
that.
like she saw we are foreigners. If
Hmm
she puts pressure on us, we're gonna give her the money because
hmm
we don't know anywhere else. We're getting a house in 2 days. She thought we can't do it,
hmm
but we did it as
hmm
foreigners. We got a house and she was disappointed. At all. Even me, I
hmm
got angry and said, I'm out of Tanzania. Like, I went back to Kenya the next day at 5 in the morning. I was like, I'm done with this country.
hmm
5 in the morning, I went back to my country, and Keith was like, he's still going back to Uganda. So
hmm
after we left, and then I joined Keith in Uganda, he was like, I'm not going back to Tanzania.
Yeah, so we didn't like it so much. The issues, with housing, passport problems, the immigration issues coming in and out of the
Yeah.
country. it seemed like a hassle. I feel like Kenya, Uganda were a lot easier to live in those countries because they give you a lot more, time, to do
And
things.
then also the Kenyan immigration is very friendly, and the Ugandan one very. But when it comes to Tanzania, they're kind of they don't want people in their country at all.
Yeah, Tanzania immigration was rough. I don't think any of the African immigration is kind, to be honest with you. I haven't had any except for Ethiopia. But I think Kenya is even worse than Tanzania, just my opinion. But the thing is, with Kenya, there's ways around the immigration, but a little bit less than with Tanzania. And if you do end up bribing, which you don't want to, so usually in Tanzania, they're going to ask for more money than what they will ask in Kenya. So I think that's one of the reasons. But I think you got to be very careful with immigration. You should also.
Welcome back, guys, and I hope that you've watched the video, they've shared their story. So while I was also watching with you, I kind of jotted down some things. I don't know if you can see, the reflection is too white because of the ring light. So I jotted down some things which I wrote down on the paper, and these are the mistakes that they made on their side, and some little bit of precautions that they need to take. And that's my commentary on this video. So as I've always told you, while doing transactions in Africa, that's the mistake number one that they did. While doing the transactions in Africa, kindly always try to have a reference point or something that can act for evidence that can show that you did some transaction with a person. Human beings are just human beings regardless of where you are. It can be in the United States, it can be in Africa. Making payments without showing or without having any reference point that you made these payments, it's so detrimental to you, African American, who is coming to Africa, especially when you land to the hands of greedy Africans. Now, I would advise you, if you can't, make some payments with M-Pesa to remain with the message that will show that you did some transaction. So important to you. Even the ATM withdrawals are not standing out as much as, the message that shows that indeed you did the transaction. So if by any chance you're purchasing a land, you're purchasing a house, you're paying a rent or something, always have a message and always keep those messages, because they'll act as a guide. That one, it will show that you stayed in that place in case of anything, or you're being accused of anything. As I've said, human beings are just human beings. So keep the message. It is for you to keep that message, because you will use it when the time arises. What if the landlady could have just said that you never paid for the house, show me the evidence? What would have they shown? So what do you learn from this? You learn, always keep your messages where you can find them, okay? Another thing that I'll also talk about as my first issue on, the same problem is, always try to be clean. Don't involve yourself in fraud or something while in Africa, especially when you're African American. Do not, because while the deal might seem so good, the detrimental, bro or sis, it's so much. Let me tell you one thing. When you face a problem that deals with fraud in Africa, while you're not originally from Africa, or you're a visitor, or you're African American coming to reconnect to their roots, there are so many problems, which is different from a native person if they've done the same mistake. You don't want to be found with the fraud problem while you've come to stay in that place. Do you know that your visa can be revoked and you can be taken back to your country because of the same mistake? So I just call you out to be vigilant, be clean while you dealing with people in Africa. There are people they will come with deals, crazy deals. Bro, I got you. There's something which is being offered for free. There's something which, bro, be careful. Always try to stay clean when you come to Africa. Try to stay clean as much as possible as you can. Please try to stay clean. And those are the problems that these beautiful couples, faced, you know. And it is so sad landing into problems in the motherland. It is so sad, especially in countries where the rules are so strict, like in Tanzania. I'm not saying that Kenya, the rules are not strict, but Tanzania, the rules are so strict. That woman there is not playing. So you don't want to fall into problems, guys. So take note of what I've also said. There's this thing, I think this now is business wise. When you're going to a place, I mean, you don't know how long you'll stay there, or you're just testing waters. I'll advise you not to buy assets, especially things like chairs, small things in the house. You can get to book up Airbnb, or you can get to book an hotel. Calculate the amount that you'll spend in that place while you are trying to, calculate the time that you will stay. And generally it's always 6 months for staying in a place. So you're testing a place for 6 months. Maybe you've gone to Kenya and you're looking and you're seeing that, oh, I need to stay in this place for around 6 months. And then you don't want to buy assets because you're not sure where you'll stay there. So go in a house which is full furnished. Go to a house which has everything. I mean, it's what there's no sense of buying these assets, buying everything, and then leaving the house, starting searching for people who will buy these products, and you will sell them at a lower price. I'm saying this because this is something which happens to African Americans. You buy these assets and then sell them at a throwing price. But for what? Because you never take your time to understand the place, and now you want to leave. I know it's such a problem to leave because you have to find a favorable place, and that's one part of the research that you have to do. So while I'm standing here talking to you right now, I believe it is important not to just buy those assets. Okay, that those assets that you can buy, those portable ones, or those that you can, maybe you can just give them to a friend, Yep, you can buy those ones. This also goes in line with what I've said about evidence. Please ask for agreement document and always keep them, just in case. You see, the landlady changed her mind and now increased the price of the rent. If they could have signed agreement documents that showing that they won't increase the prices of the place that they were in, there could have been no problem, because it is easier for them to sue the landlady for raising the price of the rent, because they never signed any agreement, although they agreed, yes, but where is the evidence? You can't pin somebody down out of that. And while I told you, human beings are just human beings, it doesn't matter whether they're in Tanzania, whether they're in Zimbabwe, whether they're in Kenya, whether they're in Ghana. Human beings are human beings, and they'll always find a way of exploiting you. Not just praying for you because you're an African American, but also Africans amongst Africans themselves. These are things which are human nature things, and so you have to be vigilant. When it comes to business, there is no friendship. You need papers, you need document, you need agreement terms, you need agreement documents that show that you did this, because overseas, a person can just switch out of nowhere and becomes an animal. And you'll ask yourself, is this the same person that we agreed to do the same things like that you are doing right now? You see, but now the time will reach when they've already switched, and you won't say anything to a person because there are no evidence to show that. You see, so always have an agreement document, whether it's land, whether it's anything, whether it's somebody's working for you, because a person can sue you. For example, a person can sue you for you paid them less, or a person can sue you for something which you could have just agreed and signed documents that you've agreed on them. Yeah, that was the only problem that I felt like the couples were failed short of. However, they are beautiful couples. I haven't interacted with Kate or the other lady. I'm their fan and I love their content. You didn't always love African Americans. Always keep that in mind. That's why I do these contents to at least enlighten you for a little bit. When you come to the motherland, you're not blank about some things which are happening in the continent. And so with that, thank you guys for always tuning and watching my videos. This is Eugene, the African kid. Eugene from Kenya. Until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute. Shalom.